This was a post that was dropped last night by the IDF.
Facing one of its biggest nuclear threats in decades. So it's best if we know a thing or two about what it means. An atomic bomb works by splitting atoms, specifically uranium or plutonium, in a process called nuclear fission. That split releases a massive amount of energy, way more than any conventional explosive. When the bomb detonates, it creates an intense blast, searing heat, and
you really have to wonder what would possess the IDF to put out a message like this. They're suggesting in this message that the reason that they're doing this has to do with this idea that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Well, that's not what I take away from it. What I take away from it is that Israel is basically saying, yeah, we're ready to drop a nuke. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. I don't think so. I think it's pretty crystal clear what they're implying here. That this is what they are prepared to do. And it is a very precarious situation, to say the least. Apparently, the so-called doomsday jet has arrived in Washington. It's another version of the Air Force One. I know everyone thinks that this won't happen. It can't possibly happen. That's not what's going to happen. But everyone will say that until it does happen. And then what are you going to do?
deadly radiation. The result? Instant mass destruction, firestorms, and long-term health and environmental damage. Now that we know how powerful these weapons are, we know that we don't want them to fall in the wrong hands. However, until now, the largest terrorist army in the world was about to have it in theirs. And that is why.
This is all propaganda. That's what it is. And this is why, and that is why, this is all propaganda. Why is it that Israel is allowed to have a nuclear arsenal? In fact, they're the only country in the entire Middle East that does have it. In fact, they decided to try to saber rattle with Pakistan the other day, and that didn't go over too well, because Pakistan has nukes, and they are 100% behind Iran. You know, everyone looks around and asks themselves, why? Why are we here? Why is this happening? And would things be any different if we were sitting with a different commander-in-chief right now? Well, I don't believe we would in any way. And I also have said time and again that I believe that the Democrats are infinitely more sinister than the Republicans. Do you see anybody? I mean, not that the Democrats really have leaders to begin with, let's be fair. They don't really have anything worth noting. However, is it fair to say that in this moment, you would think some of them would be stepping up? I mean, few of them. Credit to Tim Kaine, Senator Tim Kaine, for going with Congressman Thomas Massie to put a bill on the table to force a congressional vote regarding any type of military action against Iran. And we'll see what happens with that. But we all know with Trump, he just does what he wants, pretty much. And I see the Democrats as just a party that sees this as an opportunity politically. Rather than trying to, do something for humanity, they're looking at it as, ooh, maybe if Trump fucks up just enough, that might actually help us. That's what they're thinking. Why do I say that? This is Chuck Schumer.
Comes to negotiating with the terrorist government of Iran, Trump's all over the lot. One day he sounds tough, the next day he's backing off. And now, all of a sudden, we find out that Witkoff and Rubio are negotiating a secret side deal with Iran. What kind of bull is this? They're going to sound tough in public and then have a side deal that lets Iran get away with everything?
Oh, come on, just bomb them. What are you waiting for? Do it, do it, do it. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. They just sit on the side. They look at it as, well, if they bomb Iran, that's going to be really good for the Democrats. That's what they sit around and think to themselves. How could this possibly benefit us politically? If a few 100,000 people have to die, it's going to be good for us. So why don't we just do it? Why don't we just go along with this racket and say, yes, it's going to suck for a lot of people. Hell, it might even suck for us. Maybe we even get sucked into having to send troops over there. But for political purposes, this could be a total swoon for the Democrats. And that's what, oh, I don't have these glasses that I wear. Would have been perfect. That's why Chucky the Shoom has his glasses down around his nose, because he wants, he likes to pretend he's professorial when he's making these statements, as if he's really saying something that's going to be prophetic in some way. But he's got a little bit more to say.
Everything? That's outrageous. We need to make that side deal public. Any side deal should be before Congress and, most importantly, the American people. If Taco Trump is already folding, the American public should know about it. No side deals.
Even if it means averting war, especially a world war. Yeah, let's not worry about that. Could somebody, you know what, guys, I'd like to think that I'm up to snuff on a lot of stuff that we talk about politically, but could somebody please explain to me what Taco Trump is, like what this means? Somebody please drop it in the chat, because I'm dying to know what this so-called insult that's being thrown at Trump is. Taco Trump. And then people ask themselves, would anything be different if Kamala Harris was president? And that's all the libs want to talk about. You see what happens? You put Trump in there and this is what we get? Well, let's remind everybody. Let us be crystal clear about the language, consistent language, no coded language. They always like to suggest that Trump always chickens out. That's what that means. They're really are they trying to bait him to attack Iran? Because that's what I think. That's how it comes off to me. I'm seeing this as, let's see if we could get him to just give in. Well, let me tell you, if Kamala Harris was president, because that's what a lot of people want to fancy right now is, well, if only Kamala was in there, things would be so much better. We could go back to brunch. And they probably would. But this is what she had to say.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran.
So you're going to say Iran. This is almost a year ago that she says that our greatest enemy is Iran. That's our greatest enemy? This is while a genocide is being committed by against the Palestinian people. Keep that in mind. So this is her response. And you're all so confident that if only she was there, everything would be fine. I saw one of those Democratic twits, Victor Shi, I think is his name, another brainiac, child of trust fund privilege who ended up at an Ivy school and now works his ass off for the Democratic establishment behind the scenes. That son of a bitch actually put out a tweet the other day with the picture of the woman holding up the sign saying, if Kamala was president, we'd all be at brunch. And he was lauding that, saying that that is absolutely correct. And it's so on point with LA vibes. Yeah. Remember, genocide's fine as long as it's done politely. If it's done chauvinistically, then we have a problem with it. The way I see it, why should we have either? I like it more when people are just out front cunts. Know what I mean? That's better.
Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power.
This is over a year ago, or about a year ago. Do you guys not get it yet? Is it still, are there still people that can't see this, who can't see the obvious? It doesn't matter who's in charge up front. It's who's in charge behind the scenes. That's what matters. This has been in works for a long time. And they sensed an opportunity to go get it. And they're going to continue down this path. This isn't changing. They are supremely confident that they could sell this. And I think that they feel that if somebody like Kamala was there, it would be a lot easier to sell it. Because the one thing that we've noticed, and that's what's going to be obviously at the heart of the conversation this evening as we go forward, especially when it comes to Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, when the Democrats were in power this previous year, they did everything in their power and their base, if you will, did everything in their power to try to keep everybody silent. Don't mess this up. I know things are bad, but it could be so much worse if Trump gets in. And yet Trump is in here right now, and you're seeing a legitimate civil war between the MAGA factions, the ones that are more libertarian leaning and the ones that are clearly more neocon leaning. And that is actual, real, constructive fighting that goes on amongst the ranks. To their credit, the anti-war sentiment is significantly higher and of greater range than anything the neocons are putting out. And that's not even factoring in the Israel component, which only makes it even more overwhelming in favor of not being involved in this. But when the Democrats are in power, they soft sell all of this. The same stuff, they sell it nonstop. And because Kamala says it in such a gentle way, in such a soft way, that must make it better. That makes it better. We can't possibly lose if somebody like Kamala is selling it. I mean, after all, she's a woman of color, not a big, white, ugly buffoon like Trump. So that makes it better.
That is one of my highest priorities.
So if you
And
have
that must
proof
be.
that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
In other words, yes, I will. You're not supposed to ask me that question on national television. You're supposed to give me softballs, and then I'll think about it after the fact. But we all know that she doesn't have any say. She's just there to change the drapes. She wanted that cushy life, and she fought really hard to get it. And she was almost there. And she is beside herself that she did not become the president. And she didn't have to do anything. Literally nothing. She got handed the vice presidency. Then she got handed the nomination. And she really thought she was going to win, which is why I feel bad for California, because I am definitely convinced that that woman's running for governor. That's going to happen. But I hope it's a good thing for somebody like Butch Ware, because hopefully she'll clear the field. And then people will be looking around for another option. Don't challenge me, Zainab. Don't challenge me. Sometimes people need to be told what they are with certain language. If you don't like it, that's too bad. I am not apologetic. I am very direct. That's how I roll. I will not sugarcoat anything, especially when it's not necessary. There are kids dying every day being targeted by a nation that this woman vehemently would be protecting. Period. But because it's a soft sell, because she's not a crude fuck like Trump is, it makes it better. No, it doesn't make it better. In fact, it makes it worse because it gets people to ease up on their so-called resistance, but really it's rebellion. People don't like that word rebellion. People don't like the word revolution because it gets them into this whole thought process of, communism and things like that. But no, the American people have to stop pussyfooting around stuff, including language. We are not going to solve any of these problems if we think we're going to have soft sells on any of this stuff. As I said, when you've got the doomsday plane flying into DC now to basically grab the president and take him up into the air, yes, maybe it's an overreaction, maybe it isn't. But what I do know is that people are going to continue to throw this language around of maybe we just have to be friendly and that'll stop. No. It's not going to solve anything. And now we're staring down the barrel of a nuclear exchange. And people think that that's a joke. It's not. The IDF doesn't put out videos like that because they're trying to sell you on this idea that Iran is somehow going to get a nuke. No, what they're doing is they're letting you know that they're willing to drop a nuke. That's the real danger. We'll continue.
Is a destabilizing, dangerous force in the Middle East, and today's attack on Israel only further demonstrates that fact. As I have said, I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist militias. My commitment to the security of Israel is unwavering.
My commitment to Israel is unwavering. Unwavering. She's not going to move off of that line. Why would she? Who else is? I mean, you have AOC still going around saying Israel has the right to defend itself. Give credit where credit's due to Zohran Mamdani, who's running for mayor of New York City. He is getting death threats out the yin-yang. Michael Bloomberg has given Andrew Cuomo almost $10 million in campaign contributions to stop him. That's pretty fucked up. But it also shows their level of desperation, which is at a fever pitch at this point. I don't want to put too much stock into one election making a significant difference in our daily lives, but in terms of people's outlook, I would imagine that if Zohran is able to win, that would definitely be a swoon that is much needed in this moment, especially when you consider everything that's going on right now.
And let us be clear, Iran is not only a threat to Israel, Iran is also a threat to American personnel in the region.
So as I said, if you think things would somehow be better if we just stuck this puppet into the White House, well, you're seeing right now where she stands. This is now. The interview I showed you with Bill Whitaker was from last year. This is now. So nothing's changed. Not a thing. In fact, you would think with somebody not in power and kind of trying to read the tea leaves of where people were, that somehow, some way, maybe she'd be a little bit more sensible about what she was saying. No, not even a little bit. There is no sensibility. It's, we are all going down if Israel goes down. They are prepared to strap themselves in and attach us to that sinking ship. We can't allow that to happen.
Will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend U.S. forces and interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists.
And remember who the terrorists are, guys. It's Hamas, Palestinians. Now, she really thought she could split the difference, so to speak, but she knows that she can't. She's not capable of it. And neither is the Democratic Party in its current construct, and it will not switch. That's why, as crazy as it sounds, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to suggest that AOC is capable of running for president and garnering a lot of momentum, because there's still a lot of people that are fooled under this notion that if you run under the Democratic Party banner, that somehow it's going to change. No, it's not. It's not going to change. The detrimental circumstances that we face right now are ones where the unification has to be amongst the populace. It's not through electoral means. Not that elections don't matter, they do. But there's far-reaching greater situations here that we have to take into consideration. I play this for you right out of the gate to just ensure people that if you think you can vote your way out of this, you can't.